In this episode of Eerie Odyssey, a family living in a remote mountain home have a truly mystifying experience. Can you explain the shocking revelation that this family uncovers? If you enjoy listening to the scary and strange paranormal stories on Eerie Odyssey, you can get special offers and support the growth of this podcast by using the links in the show notes. Thank you for listening. The old kitchen phone. In the late 1990s, when my wife was pregnant with our oldest daughter, we bought a house in the Catskill Mountains in upstate New York, out in the middle of nowhere. We had to drive down winding roads for 40 minutes just to go grocery shopping, and most of our neighbors were only around in the summer or on holidays. It was a nice little house next to a creek, and in the kitchen, mounted on the wall, was an old-fashioned dial phone with a coiled cord. When we first moved in, my wife picked up the receiver and overheard a conversation between two women. She didn't want to eavesdrop, so she said, "Hello, who is this?" The ladies stopped talking. Then one said, "Did you hear that?" And then the other woman said, "Yes, is there someone there?" My wife said, "Hi, can you hear me?" Then it was silent. No voices, just a faint dial tone. We quickly decided that this old phone was somehow hooked up to an old-fashioned party line. After that, we used the phone very little, preferring our cordless phone hooked up in the other room. The handful of times we did use it, we could hear faint, almost whispering voices in the background, but we always assured each other that the lines sometimes picked up other calls. A year and a half passed, and we mostly forgot the phone was even there. Then, in September of 1999, Hurricane Floyd passed through our area, leaving us without power and the road with large impassable trees blocking the way. Fortunately, we were already prepared. We had stored food and clean water in a paranoid frenzy for Y2K, and we desperately needed it all. We bathed in the creek, painted in the day, and played board games by candlelight while waiting for our power to be restored. After a week, the road was clear but still no power, and life was getting tedious for my wife and me. But our 1-year-old was loving it. One afternoon, when my wife was worrying that we couldn't call her sister because our cordless phone didn't work without electricity, we heard an unfamiliar ring. It was the wall phone in the kitchen. My wife raced to it and heard the faint voice of her sister. She was checking in on us and invited us up to her place until our power came back on. We stayed with her sister for 5 days, and when we returned, everything was back to normal. We were so glad we had a hardwired phone that didn't rely on electricity. A couple of years passed and the phone was mostly ignored, except by our now 3-year-old toddler, who thought it would look better covered in sparkly stickers. The power went out at least once or twice every summer, usually just for a few hours. During one of these outages, I decided to try the phone in the kitchen to make a call, but it was dead. Concerned, I went to the local country store and called the phone company's service line. "This is the phone company. How can I help you?" "Hello, yes, my phone has stopped working." "Can I have your account number?" "Yes, it's 555-123-4321. "I don't see anything wrong here." "Well, we don't have any power right now." "Well, that would be the problem." "No, but we have an old-fashioned dial phone hooked up in the kitchen. It should still work." "I'm sorry, but according to our records, you have no phone in the kitchen." "Yes, we do. We've used it." "No, you don't. If you do, it's not connected through us." I raced home after hearing this, went into the kitchen, and pulled the old phone off the wall, only to be stunned by a shocking discovery. The phone, which we had long assumed was connected, had no wires longer than 3 inches. It was completely unattached and never hooked up to anything. Have you had a scary or strange personal experience? Go to EerieOdyssey.com to share your story and have it featured on a future episode of this podcast. Thank you.